Hey guys, John here. How you doing today? Been a little while since I uploaded a new video, but finally got a little something to talk about in between any other big reviews. Okay, so just earlier tonight, Nickelodeon aired a new original drama series, I guess you call it, called The Astronauts. Now, the show is basically about these five kids. They're children of people who are working for a space station. Part of this, plan to launch into space to look for life form on a big, chunk of rock floating through space, that sort of thing. So there's a few different people. The astronaut is called the Odyssey 2. The show was created by a guy named Daniel Knopf. And yeah, I wanted to give my thoughts on it. I thought this was like a very interesting series. I said in an earlier video that I thought it looked like one of the most interesting live action shows Nickelodeon's put out in a while. And so far the first episode, pretty good. So the main character is a girl named Sammy Sawyer. Her mom is someone named Rebecca Sawyer, who is a mission commander working at NASA, this space station here. So you have these few different kids. There's five kids. You got Sammy. You got two siblings, Martin and his younger sister Doria. Got a kid named Elliot and another one who I didn't write down. But basically, you got these five kids, and they end up meeting, kind of start hanging out one day, sort of a little bit, talking about this common thing where their parents are all working together at this space station, and they're there with their parents. Sammy is the one who's like the main character. She's the last one to join the group. She's someone who's kind of more quiet, keeps to herself, and she's a very intelligent girl. Gets a lot from her mother, but she's not incredibly sociable. And the other four kids invited her to come, kind of just hang out and talk, and they're getting to know each other. They don't know each other too well. One of them ends up forgetting another one's name. So yeah, they don't know each other too well first, which I think I like that whole concept of having a TV show centering on a group of people who are not like already in a group of friends, because if you think about a lot of TV shows, there's a lot of TV shows out there that can focus on often, like the group of main characters can be two different kinds of people a lot of the times on TV shows. They can either be, in many situations, a family or a group of people who work together. Both of those two are very common. It's not necessarily quite as common as a group of people who are friends. And I would imagine that in many cases the reason for this is because it leads to a problem where you can have like a group of characters who are all very similar. There's not really a lot of diversity in the kind of personalities and stuff like that. You see, because if you think about it, you choose your own friends. You often choose people who are like you, who are similar to you. People who you have similar interests with, similar personalities. So in a situation like this, it's kind of different and refreshing. Not that like it's never been done before, but it's a little different and refreshing to have a show that basically is able to be about a group of people who I will assume will eventually become friends, but start off as kind of these few people who are kind of just forced together in the situation. And if you haven't seen the promos of the show or you haven't watched it yet, basically what happens is the kids end up sneaking onto the spaceship just to kind of check it out, and the spaceship ends up launching with just the few of them going off into space. There's this robot, voice assistant control kind of person, like HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, that sort of thing. Her name is Matilda, and she basically starts. They get on the ship, and she ends up like locking the ship up, and saying 20 minutes to launch. So it's like, okay, and they try to stop her. They try to stop. It's not working. So you start asking kind of these questions like, is she become evil? And later, the adults, a lot of their parents who are trying to stop this, suspect that she might be compromised, that she might be hacked, but they're not too sure. I won't spoil what happens. We don't totally know everything that happens, but it gets interesting. So, yeah, basically, so Matilda starts off this 20-minute countdown, and she won't stop, even when the kids and when the adults, tell her to. So something's wrong here. This isn't what the Matilda, robot device is supposed to be doing. So like I said, you're thinking about it, you're wondering what's going on. So, Sammy, she kind of makes herself the leader. She's, very kind of intelligent, resourceful, wise beyond her years. She skipped a couple grades I mentioned earlier in the episode. This is a 1 hour long special, by the way. I don't know if the rest of the episodes are going to be an hour long, but that would be definitely interesting to see if they were to do that. Probably do half-hour episodes. But yeah, this is interesting. This is that it's, you got this live-action kids show that is like a drama and is like a serialized, ongoing story. And you definitely don't see that a lot from live-action kids shows, so it's refreshing to see. Now, basically, They have this thing where at one point we meet Sammy's mom. Her name is Rebecca. She's the like I said, the mission commander, and she's communicating with them from the spaceship. They're up there, and the kids are up there, and the adults are down here. There's this kind of this interesting thing where there's a couple times throughout the episode where they hint at some kind of I don't know, previous conflict between Sammy and her mom that will leave the viewer, I think, kind of very curious to see where they go with it. There's definitely a lot of unanswered questions here, but it's just a pilot, first episode, setting up the story, introducing the characters. So I'm curious to see where they go with it later. There's this one interesting exchange where Sammy says to her mom, "What's my birthday?" She says, "June 7th. Why?" And Sammy smiles, like as if like she had like this, as if to suggest that maybe she's had this lack of a good relationship with her mom over the years, and she's just happy to see that her mom knows her, that she remembers her birthday. So, curious to learn more about that. When the kids end up eventually getting up into outer space, they launch, despite trying to stop it. And when they eventually end up getting into outer space, there's some really actually, like, impressive visual effects. Like, I'm assuming this had a big budget, considering that it's produced by Ron Howard and Brian Grazer, who have done a lot of successful big budget movies and stuff about space, like Apollo 13. So I imagine it could have a big budget despite being on Nickelodeon, and it definitely shows that that's the case. I suppose if not, it makes it even more impressive because the level of special effects here, the visual effects of them traveling off into space, launching, and then when they eventually arrive in space, it looks really good. It's not like as good as, I don't know, the Sandra Bullock movie Gravity, but for Nickelodeon, it's really impressive. There's also a nice musical score that starts playing once they first get off to space. You see the kind of spaceship kind of just floating in space for like, I don't know, like a 10-second period. And there's a really good musical score that goes along with it, very nice sound, and it's all pretty good throughout the episode. Yeah, so at one point, Sammy goes off on her own to check things out, despite the adults telling them not to. The adults also tell them at one point just to totally disregard Matilda because they believe she's evil, they believe she's compromised, so they send out to listen to her. But the kids sort of end up having a little bit of trust in her for whatever reason. And this basically does the kind of story well. It does a couple different things. Like, you see a lot of these kind of different stories, movies and TV shows that focus on kids who get thrust into some kind of crazy, high danger, high risk situation. And sometimes the kind of thing, like, I'm having trouble thinking of any examples off the top of my head, but it can sometimes kind of be a thing where it's like, it feels a little bit implausible, like that these kids are going to end up in this situation, and that they're going to have to be the ones to, kind of rescue themselves or rescue someone else. But here it works for a couple reasons. So you have these kids who are just, for some reason, beyond their control. The Matilda thing launched off into space, not exactly sure why. Like I said, it could be hacked or compromised. But basically, the kids are basically, they kind of set up this sort of dynamic where at a certain point they establish, it's the kids who are up there, so they're kind of privy to a little bit more information that the adults, even though they're the experts, don't necessarily have. So the kids kind of have to, at some point, like I said, Sammy ends up kind of taking charge. She's still communicating with Matilda, and there's a certain point where they kind of have to make the choice, like, are they going to just do what they want to do based on the information they have up there, or are they going to listen to what the adults do? And, well, they end up doing what they want to do, I'll just say. I won't say everything that happens. There's a couple interesting conflicts that come along, and they kind of Sammy, like I said, she's very intelligent, but they're also, some of the other ones are pretty intelligent as well in other ways and resourceful. One of them, Mart, establishes that he's good at math. The other one, Elliot, at one point, shows some signs of intelligent knowledge about science. So they'll all probably get their own ways to contribute to the story. I definitely would like to see more character development. I would have liked to see more character development for some of the characters. Like, we don't really get to know Mart and his younger sister, Dory, too well. We don't know the other boy child who was an Elliot. The fact that I can't even remember his name helped me that maybe, he's not a very well-developed character yet. And like I said, usually that's kind of what pilots are for, but this one's more focused on kind of, I think, telling the story, and I'm sure we'll get to know these characters more in the future, but, it was a little disappointing that we didn't get to know them totally as much early on. There's a lot of nice moments here, some touching kind of moments, some interesting, compelling moments, some good stakes in the story, even though that it's probably going to end up being okay, even though it's something for kids, still on Nickelodeon. But it like I said, it's definitely, I can really appreciate the fact that it's being Nickelodeon is doing something different, something experimental as far as their live action shows. So even as far as their shows in general, this is like I don't even like. This is probably one of their most experimental things since like Avatar: The Last Airbender. So definitely can have a certain degree of respect for that. Yeah, like I said, I won't spoil everything that happens in the ending, but it's all pretty compelling, well written. The child actors all do a pretty good job. So I think the girl who plays Sammy, is particularly good. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I want to say. I would recommend checking this out on Nickelodeon. Maybe checking it on demand, DVR. Maybe it'll be online at some point. But yeah, it's good, and it's definitely a show that I plan to stick with and keep watching week after week. Yeah. So yeah, check it out. Guess that's all I gotta say, everyone. Thanks for watching, and you might not see me again for like a big review until Christmas. Let's put it that way. Alright, that's all I gotta say. Bye.